Hi guitarlings, this is Gray at Hub Guitar. Today we're going to learn an Irish jig called the Lilting Banshee, and that's arranged for solo fingerstyle guitar. So a jig is a tune that's written in a 6/8 meter. A 6/8 meter is a duple meter, so there's two primary beats, da, 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 da. But it's also a compound meter. So each of those primary beats is subdivided further into three. So you have da, 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 da. So it's sort of a 3 against 2 kind of feeling. A couple things before we start. We're in standard tuning, which is great if you've never played a Celtic guitar tune, so you can get started without fiddling around with the different open tunings. And I'm also going to put my capo on the 2nd fret. I tend to do that if I don't have a lot of notes going too high up the fretboard. In this case, the highest note's about the 7th fret or so it makes sense, I think, to try it with a capo. Here we go. Alright, so we're starting out at measure 1 with what sounds kind of like an A minor chord. It's actually more of an A power chord, which would be written A5. Either way you want to think of it, we've got an open 5th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, and 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So I pluck the first 2 notes with thumb and index, and then I pluck the other notes with my middle finger. And then we go to a G chord. That I like to pluck with my thumb, doing the 6th and 4th strings. And then I can do my index finger on the 3rd string, and I can do my middle finger on the 2nd string. So I've got my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the big string, and then I put my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. We're going to go on to E minor, which is in the 3rd measure. We can play most of that measure with just one finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, but towards the end we do need to get our pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So I'm going to do thumb, index, middle, ring, 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 and thumb, index, middle, ring, ring, ring. So measure 4 is a D chord. I'm going to put my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and I'm going to put my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and pluck those with the open D, followed by the open E. When I get to the second half of measure 4, I'm going to pluck the open D with the 3rd fret of the 1st string and follow that with this fast hammer-on pull-off move. So I hammer to 5, pull to 3, pull to 2, and pull to open. So one of the tricks with that is to try not to pull the high E string off of the fretboard. That will screw up the sound. Try practicing it nice and slowly. Hammer, pull, pull, pull. Hammer, pull, pull, pull. Hammer, pull, pull, pull. Once you've got that fast enough, it should feel pretty natural just to stick it inside of that beat somewhere. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you could interpret that. The timing is not really strict because it's just an ornament. Now going to measure 5, we're going to do an A minor chord with a half bar on the 5th frets of strings 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to couple that with an open 5th string. So we've got this. Most of that's just coming from the half bar across the 5th fret, but I do need a pinky on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Measure 6 is probably the most interesting G chord you've seen. So I've got my index finger on the 3rd fret of the big string, and I've got my pinky finger reaching all the way to the 7th fret of the 3rd string like this. And then I lift that up and move my pinky to the 7th fret of the 4th string. So it's pretty hard to do that at a fast tempo, so practice it nice and slowly while you get used to that stretch. At measure 7, we have another E minor chord. And we go to settle into an A sus4 for measure 8. So I've got my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, I've got my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Then I repluck the 3rd string, lift up, and play the bottom 3 notes again, making it technically an A power chord. So all together. All right, so if you've made it through the first half of Swallow's Tale, there's not a whole lot new going on in the second half. We're going to do that A minor again, and that G again, E minor, back to that weird hammer-on pull-off move, and measure 13, back to A minor, G for measure 14, and then for measure 15 we've got E minor, and measure 16 ends the same way that measure 8 did. So altogether the second half. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and thanks so much for watching.